Okay, so I don't know what happened, but this is gonna be like ADHD part 2, which is pretty allegorical for ADHD. Look, my background's different. It said it logged me out, but it was still recording, so I'm hoping it still records. I don't know. I really don't know. Wow, this would be hilarious if I had to like do it and then do it over again. This would be like the story of my ADHD adjacent life. Let me move this over here too. Okay, good. So not all kids with ADHD require an IEP. That's a big mind blower. If it's mild enough and they just need maybe some accommodations and modifications, they don't need a full IEP. So let's go back one. There we go. Yeah, just making sure that we didn't lose our place. So in 2011, this is 10 years ago, percentage of youth age 4 to 17. So again, American Pediatric Society can suggest that you can diagnose at 4, and then 17 is just under adult. Now, 10 years ago, so check the point of this is that most says they're over 13% are in these states. Do you know why? Do you know why? Some of the correlations have to do with where the medications are being manufactured. So if you have Merck in North Carolina and Pfizer in Illinois, wouldn't they, or over here in Indiana, right? Wouldn't they be like advertising, and then educating the doctors in the region and getting the doctors on board? And yeah, I'm not saying that anything wrong is happening, but if you're not sure this child has ADHD and you just automatically go for it and give them the diagnosis and give them the medications and the parents are frazzled and the school's frazzled, that's where the statistics show up. I'd like it. You know what? I'm going to go to the CDC and see if there's anything newer here and post it in the module. Again, our book is what our book is, but you know, things change. I'd rather have this book and then have a different book and then have to start over. So it's hard to do that. Increase in ages 6 to 21 served under IDEA. Now remember, 21 seems like an older number, but this is a transitional number. This is kids who maybe have an intellectual disability and are still in high school or transitional services can be serviced under IDEA. We have students here at the college who have an accommodation letter. It's not an IEP, it's more like a 504. And it's usually note taker, extra time, distraction free environment, X, Y, and Z. Extra time, extra chances on an exam. Good thing I opened that up. I did learn that from a student who needed unlimited chances and unlimited time during COVID. Her disorder was that was her letter. And I was like, I literally reached out to the director, so I don't know how to do that. And she's like, you can't just open all the chances for her and leave like 2 chances for your rest of your class. I said, no. And you know what? Why not? Why not we open all the chances and open the time limits? So you can thank a person, right, with an accommodation letter for the fact that you get to use your tests, do your tests as many times as you want with unlimited times. That's why I do it, because it's equitable. If I was doing it for her, why not do it for everybody? Right? If we're taught chapter 1, supporting all learners, why would I not support all learners? So look at this from 1987. Jesus, this is when I was in high school. Holy cow. When this category, OHI, included ADHD, look at this, 1987 to let's say 2000, let's say this was 2017, that would be 20, 30 years. This number went from like, let's say 50,000 past 500,000, which is 10 times the amount, to almost 1 million, which is like 200%. Wait, 100%. This is doubled. So this would be 100%. Yeah, 200%. Unbelievable. Yeah. Right? What did we used to call them? Troublemakers, problem child, that kind of stuff. And just to put it in perspective in terms of all the other high incidence categories, LD is still the biggest one. Speech and language is way up there, but look at this. All other disabilities are still bigger than OHI. So, and OHI has more than just ADHD, but still, even if this was all ADHD, it's not even the top, it's technically top 3 because these are all the rest of them, but ADHD, although we think it's a lot, it's not. We think it's a lot, it's not, right? So remember, if your entire school population, about 10% are identified with an IEP or 504, okay, special education services. So out of this 10%, it basically would say 1.4 are in OHI. 14%, right? Well, 14% of 10% is 1.4, right? So it's not a lot, but it's enough. You're going to have a handful of kids with ADHD on your campus, either in special education services or just with a 504 and just in the gen ed class. It's a lot. It's a lot, but it's handleable. It's handleable. Again, ADHD can impact various areas of life. It can cause problems in relationship. Again, it's not a problem until it causes a problem in the classroom. You could have ADHD to the 1,000,000th degree at home, but when you're at school and you're like doing your best and you're following the rules and you're doing it and you're getting a C or a passing grade and you're not causing problems, you're okay. Again, the IEP and the 504 is for school educational deficits, right? So again, but here's the thing. Even in kindergarten, my son came home, so 5 years old. This was his first year in a gen ed environment. He went to a special preschool in the district. And then he went at the age of 4 or 5. His birthday's in February. So yeah, turned, 5 in the middle of the school year, I guess, or towards the end. But he came home and said, well, the ninjas won't let me use the slide. And I was like, well, what do you mean the ninjas won't let you use the slide? And he said, yeah, so I go out to the playground and some of the kids won't let me climb up the slide. It's like the preschool playground. So there's like one slide, right? So I talked to the teacher who had been a teacher for like 25 years. And I said, and I'm thinking, this is bullying, right? At 5, right? But they're kids. They don't really know at 5 what they're doing or saying or whatever. They're just playing. She goes, unfortunately, some of his behaviors in class carry over into the playground. And so the kids retaliate. I was like, no, I haven't met a whole lot of 5-year-olds who say, wait till we get out to the playground and we won't let them use the slide. Retaliation is an adult term, an adult construct. And I was like, oh, great. Where's her head at? Yeah. And then I said, so you're sanctioning bullying and exclusion? And I had to, at the age of 5, pull the race card. Yeah. Because kids don't know racism until you teach racism. So yeah. Am I the mom you want to mess with? I don't think so. And now I get to say, I can pull a full Karen right now if we need to go there. Because on the internet, I could look like a Karen. I could take it to the Karen levels, right? I don't need to do that. But I will. Tell people, I didn't fight tooth and nail to adopt him to not do my best. And my best is pretty intense. So I'm in it to win it. So let's just say, if you want me to go there, I can, but let's just not go there. Let's not have to go there, shall we? Yeah, I'm kind of a nightmare. I do love the pictures here because you have different kids doing different things. Here's the bottom line. You have different accommodations. And again, is the teacher treating them differently? No. She might check in with them a little bit. She might put the one kid who needs more attention in the front. That's what he had. At first, he didn't have a full IEP. He had a 504. He went from an IFSP to a 504. Do we just need accommodations modifications? Let's see. And they told the teacher, you need to just give him thumbs up and winkies and he'll stay in his seat. And I said, contact your union rep because he needs the full IEP. He needs a one-on-one aid. He needs this whole thing. You're getting the short end of the stick because you're the first academic teacher who has seen him at a preschool, right? Preschool is the IFSP, then we get into an academia, which is kinder, right? And sure enough, by first grade, he had a full IEP and he had a one-on-one aid and he's had one ever since. Yeah. My very first nasty gram was on day 3 of kindergarten. I have everything filed. It's kind of giggle worthy. It's hilarious. Yeah. But again, every teacher here or every access, every tool is the same, right? Supporting all learners. She just might need to check in with this girl to make sure that she's not staring out the window. couple of times, right? This one here, oh, I know he might be extra impulsive and he likes to touch other kids' bodies, and we don't do that. Our hands, we keep our hands to ourselves, right? And so maybe the teacher has to just kind of like scaffold that a little bit, right? Same here. You know, maybe it's great that she's got videos here, but look at, she's alone in a room with headphones on, so she's maybe less distracted. So she's not looking out the window, right? And him, maybe he's got like a checklist, a graphic organizer, a to-do list, right? And everybody's doing the same thing, and the teacher's checking in. This is how we support all learners, right? Good. I like how we talk about general characteristics, challenges, and then their solutions. This is why I like putting them together, not having to search for the second graphic. The solutions to everything we've talked about so far is UDL, remember? Universal Design for Learning. Let's go back one. This is called Universal Design for Learning. Universal Design. Everybody gets keyboards and computers and desks and puzzle pieces with the little handles on them. That's all universal. Same thing with the computer lab and whatnot. There's nothing separate. We just might need to modify or accommodate a little bit extra. Maybe in this computer lab, this one kid would have headphones on so he's not distracted. Maybe in here, this kid works in a smaller group instead of with a large group because he gets distracted or dysregulated, right? Because there's too much going on. Same here. Again, everybody looks like they're working on the same thing. To me, this guy looks distracted. He's doing something with like, his fake binoculars, and maybe she's trying to ignore him or whatever, The teacher's just going through doing their thing. So universal design for learning here. Differentiated instruction. Again, some student needs more support. You go from the global prompt to the small group to the one-on-one, and then that's how you know where that student needs more support. They might even need more support than that. That's when the 504, the IEP kicks in. Accommodations can be more time, unlimited chances, note-taking, scribe, large print, headphones. My cat even had a chair that looked like everybody else's chair, but it was a rocking chair, so he could rock. And I'm not kidding, it lasted a week because he walked all the way back. And they were like, nope, that's gone. You can't have something to accommodate his wiggliness and then he's going to crack his head open or hurt somebody else in the process, right? So yeah, we tried it. The therapy, he ended up so we tried all of it, and sometimes we loop back to stuff, that didn't work, and now it does work, and then it stops working and then it works again. So we call that rapid cycling preference assessment, or the interventions just need to be adjusted or accommodated. There are accommodations need to be accommodations. And even in kindergarten, he would be like, okay, on this worksheet, since we know he's distracted, he doesn't have sustained effort, and he doesn't turn in, worksheets, don't even get me started, but they would say if he completes 60% of the worksheet at 70% accuracy, then that's a C, but it's not on the whole worksheet. It's still a C. Think about it. If you have 20 questions on a worksheet, but you can measure a student's knowledge in 10 questions, why not? Doesn't that help you out? Doesn't it help them out? So those are some of the accommodations that you would hear too. And then assistive technology, again, sometimes technology helps. Sometimes it's another whole conversation about other sets of behaviors. Because you'll have kids who like have the iPad to speak, but then they switch over to a Teletubbies video and they're like, stimming and flapping and distracted. So again, there's good and bad with all these things, and you just have to get in there and learn it and see what works best for that child. Behavior therapy is another way of seeing applied behavior analysis, or ABA. Self-regulation strategies. It's hard to get some insight in a 4-year-old. You can, but as adults, we'll say like, what, again, Friday afternoons, I'm highly dysregulated and I'm worn down and X, Y, and Z. Or Monday, I'm super groggy, blah, blah, blah. You're not going to have a 4-year-old say, I seem to think that before lunch, when my blood sugar dips, I'm quite distractible and ornery. You're not going to get a 4-year-old who says that. We can notice those things. We can teach them some language that says, I don't feel so good right now. I need a snack or a break. Age appropriate, yeah. Medication. So yeah, we'll talk about medication too. That's a journey and a half. But I'm glad that the book does talk about it, because it is a part of the journey for some people, not for everybody. Again, we have accommodations, modifications. So basically they're saying if you're distracted, you're going to use different types of accommodations versus if you're hyper, you're going to have different things. So again, we tell Peyton, we call it priming. We tell him ahead of time, hey, next week, we're going to start the unit on the Civil War. Right. And if that's something that interests them, then you get them to work towards that. Like, hey, listen, if you get all your work done, maybe Friday I can give you a sneak peek. Right. So advanced organizer, or you have it on a calendar. Again, age appropriate. Verbal or visual clues sometimes is better than saying, hey, dude, shut up, or quiet down, or quiet voices, or whatever. Right. If I can do this, isn't that better? Right. We want to make less prompts instead of more prompts. Right. Prompts, again, sometimes it's verbal, visual reminders, sometimes just to remind them to get on track. Oh yeah, I need to focus. Right? Repeating instructions. Yep, lots of that. Like when we work with little ones, we repeat a lot of instructions. As these guys get older, same thing, right? Organize materials. Sometimes I have to sit and organize his binder for him. He gets mortified, but I'm like, listen, this will help you. Or I do it and say, where do you put your pink paper, and where does math go? Which section do you like this in? It's not my way, it's his way, but it's just like a little bit better. I figure like we split the difference. It's not hyper organized like mommy likes it, and it's not like a total dumpster fire like he likes it. Somewhere in between. That's all I said. Listen, we're going to compromise, right? Sometimes the settings, like the quiet or separate room, reduce noise distractions. I know that his brain works best during certain times of the day. He also works best when he has something to work for. If I say, hey, do your homework, it's not like I need to bribe him, but it's like, hey, when you're done with your homework, I wanted to show you this recipe that we could work on maybe this weekend. Just showing him something. And he gets like, oh, okay. And then, he'll still bend the rules to, oh, I finished half my worksheet. Can you show me the recipe now? How about show me, you do the odds and I'll help you with the evens. It's a constant to keep them on track. And it changes as they change in age and skills. Yeah. Preferential seating, sometimes putting them towards the front. That one teacher that he had that was really good. So from kinder, it was kind of like figuring it out. At first grade, it was primo. She had 4 kids who were on an IEP or a 504. Not that I would know this, but let me just say that my little Professor Mommy antenna were up, and she put them in the corners. And there was 2 aides in the classroom, and one was assigned to these 2 and one was assigned to these 2. And it was this beautiful little dance of organization and mindfulness. And like when this guy was squirreling out, or this student over here was doing this, like it was good. It was a good thing. It was great. Plus it made the kids not prompt dependent or dependent on the person, which is great. Checklists of needed materials, which is great. I still work with checklists and grocery lists and stuff like that. I have visual schedules in my own home. It's small group or one-on-one instruction. He likes attention, but attention fuels his fire. So sometimes we got to narrow the attention field. Extra set of books. Yeah, we have a set of books at home. That was another thing. He kept forgetting to bring his history book home. So we said, hey, we don't have to have this argument. How about we just have a history book that stays home? Yeah. You know what? I do that to myself. I have my books, even my OER books, printed out, a set for work and a set for home. So I don't have to forget which briefcase did I have them in, and did I forget to bring him, or I don't even want to carry him. Come on. Again, this is universal design. We can all do this for ourselves, even neurotypicals. Sensory tools. That means any sort of fidgets. If you took my class a few years ago, I used to have fidgets all over the table. Soft ones, fuzzy ones, glittery ones, Play-Doh, all kinds of stuff, spiky stuff. Colored pencils and little coloring sheets that people could do. Sometimes fidgeting helps people pay attention. Yeah. And I love doing it with adults because I got some really cool work out of people when they looked like they weren't paying attention, but they were on it. Yeah, it's really cool. I got some really cool work out of people. And some little coloring sheets and, bookmarks out of it. Note taker, somebody who takes notes for you. Sometimes there's now like pens. They look really cool technology to do that. Talk about that later. Graphic organizers. His school relies heavily on graphic organizers. He's in a school now where a lot of kids are distracted. And sometimes they're not distracted because of ADHD. They're distracted because they're so super duper smart. They're thinking about, when the sun is going to go supernova in 6 billion years, things like that. They're distracted because of those things, right? Scheduling and timing, again, extended time for tests, frequent breaks, multiple testing sessions. Again, if you're going to test a kid on vocabulary, there's nothing wrong with testing them, let them take a break and testing the other half, right? Brief assignments and break it into parts. Again, love that with graphic organizers. Let's see, again, if a kid doesn't get started, that's a whole nother thing. That's definitely executive dysfunction. And I tell you, it's the same thing. It's like, if it's a non-preferred activity, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do my taxes in the spring, but I do it, right? Right? Some people don't do that yet, right? So there's this piece where you learn your tips and tricks to get things done. Same thing with completing assignments. There's different tips and tricks that you can help them complete their assignments. You can motivate them. You can set up a behavior plan. You can do all kinds of different things. There's also letting them go away when they are done with a small portion of it. It's called negative reinforcements. So basically you're not yelling at them. You're not punishing them. You're letting them go away when the task is completed. Oh, okay. Well, you want to go play recess? And we don't take recess away from kids. It's like, hey, you want to go like have an extra little 5-minute break? Yeah. Finish this and then you can go. That's it. Yeah. People are like so stymied about negative reinforcement. Like, there it is. It's just removal of a stimulus when it's completed. And behavioral, again, remaining on task. It's hard. Sometimes I don't stay on task. Like I had a total tech hiccup. Did I like throw in the towel? I don't want to, but I didn't. Right. But I learned that over the years. If I was a kid, I may have walked away. Yeah. Making transition. That is a huge hallmark. It's hard. So you just warn them ahead of time and you make it fun and easy and you reward them when they do transition. It's just a skill to be built. Just a skill to be built. It's okay. And look at these. Look at me compulsively trying to even this out, even though you could see like a little number in the corner. See how I could just like move on, even though my brain's different. Again, young children look different. A 4-year-old with ADHD looks different than a 14-year-old with ADHD, right? And I did pull this one off of Pinterest. Again, in our supplemental materials module, I have my Pinterest link. And I add to that stuff almost daily. Cool stuff out there. Again, look at this. This is kids who are identified with ADHD who are receiving psych services. They're seeing a therapist once a week, maybe once a month. This is receiving medicine and psychological services. This one is receiving medicine only, no therapy. So that's most, about half, right? And on nothing, no meds, no therapy. This is the big struggle right here. My kid is one, he's getting a lot of psychological services and medications. So again, this is 2014, so almost 10 years ago, but psychological services may include behavior therapy training for parents. Oh yeah. As a former ABA therapist and supervisor, it's kind of interesting. I do have ABA therapists who come into my house once a week and we get to talk about it. And he gets to remind me like, hey, have you tried this? I'm like, yeah, I used to do that. He's like, maybe we should try it again. You're right. Maybe we should try it again. Is this the medication part? Let's see. Oh, this is just talking about behavior therapy. I'm a big fan of behavior therapy for even neurotypicals. I'm in therapy. Yeah. I have to talk with somebody about, is my brain normal, or am I overreacting, or am I underreacting? Or what level of stress is normal and what level of stress is toxic? Yeah. What level of stress did I learn as a kid? What level of stress am I keeping as an adult? Oh yeah, therapy is good. Again, so now when we talk here about, let me go back one. Not all students with ADHD are serviced under IDEA, and this is how they decide. Okay, this can almost work for every chapter, every disability category, right? So when we do the pre-referral, right before we even start the IEP process, like technically we kind of say like, are there symptoms? We kind of look at the 504 first. Again, it's like the least restrictive environment. This is called the least amount of paperwork in a way. If we can help a student just by saying, sit near the front, you can have extra time on a test and limited chances on your quizzes. Why would we go through the full IEP? We wouldn't. So we go through this data review, like this teacher says this, and this teacher noticed that, and we watch the child do this. Now, does this limit a major life activity? The answer is yes. They're eligible for a 504, right? But if it's no, they don't need it. So if we're going down here and they don't need it, they don't need it, right? But if we're seeing like this is a very disruptive set of behaviors, This is causing a lot of problems. So maybe we're looking at an IDEA, we're looking at a full IEP. We do the evaluation. We start with eyes and ears, right? We start with the school nurse, and then we have all the testing and all the observations and things like that. And they go, oh yeah, I see it. This kid's not doing well because of their disability. Then yes, they're eligible for IDA, which means they get a full IEP. But if the answer is no, let's look at a 504. Let's like kind of backslide a little bit. Maybe that's all they need. And guess what? You can put them on a 504, and that if their behavior doesn't change or their academic performance doesn't change, then guess what? We kick it up one. But you could put them on a 504 and they do so well, they don't even need it after the 3 years, and we review it. Review it every year, and every 3 years, it's like re-upping your lease. Yeah. So again, an IEP is not forever. It can be for some kids. And sometimes a 504 is not forever, but it can be for some kids. And sometimes it's like, boop, boop, boop. I have a friend whose kid was very, very pronounced as developmentally delayed, but now as a high school student, he's on a 504 that just says he's in gen ed with everything except he's in a special math class. Right? And even if he got the special math out of the way and he caught up, he wouldn't even need a 504. I mean, honestly, it was like, we were like, oh, we weren't so sure about that kid. And he's totally fine. Just like in a remedial math, just like his parents were. Not so hard, culturally appropriate. Right? Here's self-regulation on form of task behavior. Sometimes little kids, they actually tape it to the desk and give them a white little eraser, and they can have like a smiley face. How do you think you did at recess today? Were you a kind friend and you were sharing? And they say, yeah. And you're like, well, I saw you bop Tony over the head with the ball and steal the ball and run off. I don't say that was very friendly. So again, it's just how to build a skill. Some kids love this. Some kids don't. My kid, if you're on a self-evaluation, I would say now he's honest. He's almost like too honest, but up to now, he would have given himself like a billion gold stars. But like, no, he's like, I'm great. You're like, okay. But now we say like, okay, if you were going to evaluate yourself, how would you do it? He's like, yeah, I didn't do so well. Good. Thank you for being honest. But giving him an option to put a smiley face or a unhappy face. What kid wants to put an unhappy face on their own self-eval? So you got to use a tool that works. Don't use the tools that cause more behaviors, right? College students with ADHD, I have several. I see it a mile away. And you know, it's not the end of the world. There's a weird thing for every single person. When we get 3/4 of the way into the semester, there's this huge dip in energy. Every student, even good students, are like, when is the semester over? I get it. The professors are doing it too, but we all have this fortitude of, I've been in this class this long. I want the grade. I want it on my transcript. I want to be able to transfer or graduate, right? Oof, prep for college. With our last few years in the pandemic, prepping for college has been, there's been a lot of skills that have been lost over the last few years. Select the right college, right? Community colleges are fantastic because we're more cost effective when we get you there anyway. And then stay in college, right? I've had a couple students that are like, I can't manage college in COVID. That's fine. Come back and see me. Yeah. And then history. I think they should put the history of all these things at the beginning. So again, Alexander Crichton and George Still were the first like physicians to document symptoms of ADHD. And we called it, let's see, Fidgety Philip. They called it Fidgety Philip. And the funny thing is that I still remember when I was in school, we would say fidgety. And how Mama did fret and frown when she saw them tumbling down, and Papa made such a face, Philip is in sad disgrace. So it was basically saying, look at, this is the thing you're going to say. This is the thing that you say with kids, all 4 or 6 feet on the ground, right? 4 of the chair, 2 of yours. Because there's a lot of this kind of stuff like that, right? But it's interesting. So 1845, you guys. It's been around for a long time, right? It's part of our society. It's part of our culture. So why are we mad? We just have to work around it. We have to work with it. Yeah. We can actually put, look at, channel their creative and high energy Tesla careers into, I think this is supposed to say into careers. Because Elon Musk should be more like in the autism. We'll talk about this. Famous people with ADHD, and there's more, right? We had Adam Levine in there. We didn't put in there. But if without Thomas Edison, who, yes, tried to make a light bulb out of peanut butter, that's how the ADHD brain works. It's not like we're saying a light bulb is actually going to work out of peanut butter, but let's just check it off the list. So we say that we've tried everything. Think about that. Think about that scope of brain power that says, I got to try to make a light bulb out of this, because if I don't, I'm going to think maybe that's what I did wrong. Benjamin Franklin, he had his hands in everything. He created contact lenses, dentures. He's the one, doing a bunch of different things. I mean, letters and writing and legislature and developing our country and freedoms and stuff like that. But, contacts and dentures, right? Alexander Graham Bell, again, the telephone system, the Wright brothers. Can you realize that we've only had the power of flight, even as a concept, for about 100 years, 125 years? So crazy to me, right? And how many airplanes in the sky right now? It's crazy. Henry Ford didn't do anything but make an automobile. Bill Gates, yeah, he was told that he's ADHD. He might have some other stuff there too. Paul Orfalea, I think he created Kinko's. Richard Branson, Virgin everything, Virgin Atlantic, Virgin Airways, now Virgin spaceship. Is he doing it? Emily Bronte, she wrote Wuthering Heights, big, eloquent, big novels, right? Mark Twain. Oh, Mark Twain was kind of an out there kind of a guy. He had an opinion on everything. It's fantastic, right? Leo Tolstoy. I believe that's War and Peace, one of the biggest books written ever. Robert Frost, one of my favorite poets of all time. Even as a kid, I did reports on him. Love him. Oh, Robin Williams. Gone too soon. A lot of times these creative types, these ADHD types, they struggle. They struggle really, really hard, right? Will Smith, right? We've talked about him. Justin Timberlake, interesting. Will.i.am. Terry Bradshaw, he used to be a massive football player. He's older now. I don't know who Cami Ferraro is. Pardon me. Michael Jordan, cool. By the way, still to this day, Michael is one of the richest athletes of all time. He diversified very, very well, very smart, even though he was distracted, very smart. And Jason Kidd, oh, I don't know what that is either, so I apologize. Do your research and email me. And I love how Michael Phelps still to this day is very relevant in terms of the mental health movement, especially for Olympians. He came out with a documentary a while ago, and he literally says, I struggle with mental health issues, as in suicidality, like every day. He also has Marfan syndrome, which is interesting. A very rare genetic disorder. It's the opposite of people who are like little. He's kind of like, it's like giantism in a way. You see it in the long face, the ears, the way his arms and his joints are created. Sometimes you'll see it in a different shape of the chest. Abraham Lincoln also had Marfan syndrome. Interesting. Yeah. Genetic little blip. But yeah, I really like how he talks about just the reality it is to like hit your peak at like 23 years old and then go into absolute obscurity unless you're on a Wheaties box, and still to that point. And how many times did he get just thrown to the media wolves when he got caught smoking pot? Like, come on, man, this guy has like how many gold medals? Just leave him alone. And yeah, he struggles with it because it's hard. It's hard to be distracted and depressed. Yeah, and we'll talk more about the mental health stuff. Let's see. I did, even in my other classes, when I do allow for watching movies, I do allow for Percy Jackson and the Olympians. Rick Riordan here, it had, he said I think his son had ADHD and was dyslexic, and so was this character. I really like that little series, and actually the books are really fun to read. I like to read and watch YA stuff. Future perspectives. Ooh, listen, I tell you right now, if trauma is looking like ADHD and ADHD is looking like trauma, we all need to be way more comfortable with ADHD and what it looks like and how to help people. And again, it's not a casual, like daily situation, but there's a piece where sometimes I just need help, and it's hard for me to even stop and ask for help, right? And so if I'm struggling with it, how are little kids? So again, we need to offer the help a little bit more. And so we're going to see, there's always research going on. And again, some of the videos that I shared are people who are just getting more comfortable with their own diagnoses and sharing those things. I like the BuzzFeed videos. They're really cute. They're like, again, this one girl, she's like, I'm in a meeting and I start thinking about something else. And 5 seconds later, the girl sitting next to me, she's done with her paper. And I'm like, what just happened? And that's pretty much encapsulates my whole life. right? She's a producer of BuzzFeed, and BuzzFeed's like everywhere now. So it's like this weird thing is like, yeah, she's distractible, but that doesn't mean she's not talented. So again, we're looking at literature that includes people with this neurodiversity little piece here. Joey Pigza swallowed the key. Look at Caldecott winners, fantastic. You gotta get that one here. I have a whole section of like award winners back over here, but not this one. Yeah. And again, smartphone and tablet apps. But I can tell you sometimes it's another whole conversation about not getting super duper distracted. Flashcards, like any sort of something. So my kid uses, his school uses Google Classroom. So there's reminders, there's calendars, there's all kinds of stuff. It's been very helpful. I never had this kind of stuff as a kid. I wrote down stuff. I still write down stuff. It's really kind of cool. So whatever works for that child or that person, use it. If it doesn't work, don't use it, right? Or use something else. Sometimes it's the smartwatch with 1,000 timers. I have 1,000 timers on my phone, right? And my thing was like, I got really smart about all these timers. And then my phone was dying a lot. And I was like, well, why don't I have chargers everywhere? So funny. Like, seriously, at night, we're so interested in charging our phone, right? Do you guys do that before you go to bed? I better charge my phone. We charge our phone. We're more mindful about charging our device than we are recharging ourselves. So there's this piece there too. I learned this thing is like, well, of course my phone's running out. I don't have chargers everywhere. And now I have chargers everywhere. Like I basically got one of these, like, what's it called? Like, I don't know if you can see it. No, you probably won't see it. It's just like a little easel that you put it down and it charges at the same time. And I got one, and then I got one for like everywhere I sit, everywhere. Like, it was like, but at the same time, what I'm saying is that if we're interested in charging our phones, we need to be thinking about what charges us, right? How do we get recharged, right? So again, if a tool's making things worse, don't use it. If you need to do some recharging, meaning like rest, give yourself a break, learn your little persnicketies and say, well, that's just how I am. And that's how there's nothing wrong with me. That's just how my brain works. Right? It's a difference between a Toyota Corolla and a Toyota Tundra. It's like they're two different models or two different cars. Yes, it's the same company, but who cares? The technology could be similar, but they're two different operating systems, right? It's like saying there's a Mac and there's a PC. Well, they both can handle PowerPoint, right? They just do it differently. Do we get mad at a Mac for not being a PC? No, stop. Right? So again, use what works, but you have to learn that through self-knowledge. And also always extend the grace to yourself and to other people. If people are struggling, they're struggling. This is a real interesting concept as we're getting toward around the end here. Radical acceptance. People are radically doing the best that they radically can at this radical moment. And I don't mean that as like, for sure, dude, like, oh my God, radical, man. Radical acceptance. A person is doing the best that they possibly can in this very moment. And maybe we could do a little bit more, but man, who wakes up and says, I'm going to do a really crappy job today. I'm really just not going to do my best. You know, maybe once or twice a year, it's okay to say, I'm going to take the day off because I'm not going to be able to function very well today. I have a headache, my body hurts, I'm worn down, blah, blah, blah. And maybe that person doesn't take the day off and they're kind of moping through the day, right? But is that the best they can do at that moment? Yeah. Same thing when you have a weakly 4-year-old. Is that the best they can do in that moment? How? Are you mad at them because they're not 12 years old? They're 4 now, but they should be 12 like in the next 2 seconds and have all those skills that a 12-year-old has? That's on you. That's not on them. Right? So be aware of who you are, be aware of who they are, just be present. Let's radically accept each other and go from there instead of saying you should be this way and I should be this way. No, we are who we are in the moment and go from there. You think how the world could change if we just spent a day doing that, or even an hour? I do like at the end, the credits here from Slides Carnival. Slides Carnival, did I put it here? Yeah, Slides Carnival. I like this. Go to slidescarnival.com. They have the really cool things. You can use all these icons. You can change the colors. You can blah, blah, blah. They have all the, like, it's really cool. Good stuff. Good stuff. All right. So we covered a lot of stuff today, and that's the chapter on ADHD. You're going to hear me mostly say ADD or ADHD because I exist in the ADHD world. So again, I hope you enjoyed this. Apologies for having 2 different videos. I don't even know if the first one even worked. I don't even know. I really do not know what happened until I shut this off and figured it out. But thanks for hanging in there, and we'll see you soon. Let's see how we do here. So, thanks. Bye.